Hello. Welcome to Supercharged Fridays. How are you? Where are you? Come in the comments, jump in and say hello. Good to be here. It's the 50. I have to write these things down because I can't keep track anymore. It's 58 weeks of Supercharged Fridays in a row without a break. How are you guys doing? If I'm live, if you can see me, respond. Tell me you're tell me you're watching. If you're on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, drop in the comments and say hi. We have a lot of stuff to cover today. I can't wait to get started. I've got my cup of tea. Hopefully, you have something to drink as well. Drop in the comments. It's really quiet. So I wonder if anybody's even watching. We have a juicy topic to talk about. And it is so much that I'm going to get started because if I keep chatting, then it's not fun for people who are watching the replay. So I'm very conscious of that. Having said that, I am going to say hi because we have a few people who are already live on LinkedIn. Fantastic. I wish I know. I wish I knew how to pronounce your name. It's wonderful that you're here. Welcome, Anbarasu. Did I say that right? Anbarasu Rana Risto. How are you, my friend? Diwakar, Abhay, Books, James. Lovely, lovely to see you. Some new faces here. Very welcome. Some familiar faces. We have some people from the Supercharged Club. What is that? That's a membership which is extremely affordable for people who are ambitious and don't just want like free stuff on YouTube, but want to be taken seriously. Have a little bit of hand holding and a little bit of training, all of that stuff. So if you're interested in that, check out this link, superchargeyourself.com. And I promise you, it's going to be a lot of learning. We have 2 live coachings every single month. Mahesh, Victoria, hey Namrata, Reda, fabulous. Lovely to have you guys join us here. And we're going to talk today about the top 5 interview questions. We've got a lot of ground to cover. So these are classic interview questions that have come from some book somewhere in the 20th century. And these questions have been recycled. We are in 2021, and you might as well be in 1951. 70 years ago, because some of these questions have just not changed. And some of you who have been around and have interviewed in the past century, you know what I'm talking about. The evolution has hardly happened in the career space. So that's not a good thing. But can we do something about it? As a job seeker, not really. I mean, once you become an interviewer, yes, you can definitely do something about it. Oh, by the way, quick, hopefully everything is clear because I have a new camera, I have a new microphone. Hopefully you can see this. Hopefully there's a better sound and video quality. Um, I've tested it out, of course, but hopefully everything is fine. Tegan, you must be on your morning commute. So we've got people from around the world. Lovely to have you guys. So these questions are what we're going to talk about today. There's 5 of them specifically, and I'll tell you all about these 5 one by one. You're going to have to hold your horses. However, I don't want to be live for too long. When I'm alone, I was supposed to have a guest today, but unfortunately, he wasn't able to make it. Then I had a backup guest. That guest couldn't make it either. So I'm like, oh, no problem. I can hang out. I love hanging out with you guys. However, I am very mindful of your time as well. So we're going to look at these questions, and we're not going to judge them. They are what they are. I told you I don't like them. They're from a different era. However, if we can figure out how to answer it in a way that not only pleases them, but makes us feel good at the end of it, then mission accomplished. So I have to give this disclaimer every single time. Take whatever I tell you, take it with a pinch of salt. You may like some of it, you may absolutely not like some of it. So if you don't like anything or it doesn't resonate, please throw it out the window. If you like something, don't copy paste it. Just take it and apply your personality, your colors, your texture, so that the answer sounds like you. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't sound like it's a canned response from some coach who's told you to say something or say this in a certain way because it's going to be more acceptable. So Cheers. We're going to get going. Fabulous. I'm glad that the camera is all right. So, uh, excellent. Hey, Surbi. Excellent. Fantastic. So, hi, Surbi. Let's get cracking into these questions. We're going to talk about why do they ask you these questions? What you, I don't like should, what you can include, and what you should definitely avoid. The definitely avoid bit, I can hold my hand to the fire and say, please. They will read you like a book. So avoid those. And these tips will work for you, whether you're looking at the executive position, entry position, a fresh graduate, or a middle management position. These are across the board because I've hired across the board. Sounds good? Perfect. So, hey, Jeff, Santosh, this is going to be available on my LinkedIn profile forever. So you don't have to do anything about it. Let's get going. The first question, love it or hate it, it's not going anywhere. So tell me about yourself. It's like, oh man, like kill me now. Yeah, it's there. It's there whether you like it or not. Tell me about, the thing with tell me about yourself is it's not just in an interview scenario. It's in any high stress meeting. If you have your own company, one day you're looking for funding or you're meeting an important client, it doesn't have to be only job interviews, And why is this question asked? Well, I think that it's a blank slate. When people ask this, they know that this is not something that people like to hear. Why? It's too darn open. It could go anyway. It could go either way, right? So I think they ask this question because they want to see what are you like when you get something like this, which is open and uncomfortable. The second reason they ask you this question is they want to know what's important to you. And we'll come to that because the composition of your answer tells them what's important to you. And the third reason, this is a little secret that I bet you didn't know, unless you're a recruiter. And if you're a recruiter, tell me you agree with me, because if you don't agree with me, you're probably lying. When you have back-to-back interviews, do you have time to do your homework and actually read every single resume properly, cover to cover? No, you don't. No, you don't. You don't. So when you are asking this question, you are literally listening, you're nodding, you're pretending to hear, but what you're doing is you're reading the resume at the same time. Am I right? Am I right? Or am I right? Am I right? It could be because you're overworked and you had these back-to-back interviews, or it could be because you're lazy. We are not judging. We are just explaining the facts. So that is the reason they ask this question. Lauren is a recruiter. So if Lauren agrees with me, you know that this is correct. Fabulous. So I see that we have some people who are joining us from YouTube as well, because I have a growing channel on YouTube. I'm so glad that my video was helpful to you. That's fabulous. Hi, Vinayak. How to avoid giving pay slips at the beginning of the hiring process? Vinayak, I'll come to that in a bit because I have one of my questions related to salaries. So hold that thought, okay? And Tegan's a recruiter and worked a lot in the recruiting space. And in fact, she's doing some work for Corn and Ferry, correct? The initial question can be asked in so many ways, and it comes down to this. Yeah, that's it. Everyone who's like, yeah, I've been there, done that. So how do you approach it? First, I'm going to tell you what not to do. Remember, we said we're going to talk about why they asked this question, what to include, what to avoid. I'll come to what to include, but what to avoid is avoid personal information. It was a rainy, dark night. The year was 1972. Yeah, so I'm exaggerating, but you'll be surprised how many people get on this Saturday Night Live monologue for 8 minutes. You don't want to have any monologue. You want to have a two-way street from the get-go. And the reason I say this question is usually asked at the very beginning, and it sets the tone of your entire meeting. Because if you answer this well, you feel so good. Nothing can stop you. You know, you're like unbeatable, like you rule the world. I'm the ruler. If you bomb this question, you're like this downward spiral. Even if you know things by heart and you know and you have a personality, you're wonderful and you're lovable. And if you feel you bombed the first thing, chances are it's a little difficult to recover. I'm not saying it's impossible to recover, but it gets harder. You don't want to be in a situation which is already high stress and you're already like, uphill. It shouldn't have to be an uphill battle. So you want to be in control of this question and how you answer it. So avoid anything that can come and shoot you in the foot. Personal information, you're married, how old you are. I know that maybe in some parts of the world you would never say this because it's a very regulated environment, particularly in the US. But in some parts of the world, people have no problem saying, I was born in this city. I'm 48 years old. It's unnecessary, and I'll tell you why. It has absolutely no relevance to the job. It has no relevance to the job unless you're going to be lifting heavy machinery equipment and you happen to be 84 years old. Yeah, okay, that might be an issue. But otherwise, your age has no relevance to the job. Marital status, I'm married, I have 3 children. Please keep that out. Keep that out. Some people talk about their personal interests. I had a candidate back in India talk to me about 5 minutes. I almost fell asleep. He was talking to me about 5 minutes about cricket and his favorite players. It's irrelevant. I lost interest. I'm human. I am biased. We're all human. So keep it sharp and we'll get to how you can do that. The other thing I want to say is avoid selling yourself at this stage too much. Too much. There is a way to do it and I'll show you how to do it, but don't dive in and start like attacking on the offensive when it might be a bit premature. There's a way to do it and we'll get there. Cool. So, how do you answer this question? There's a driver's seat formula, and I'll explain it to you. It's very simple, actually, and it works like a charm every single time. So, everything applies to veterans as well. Wing commander, definitely. So there's nothing specific which is only for youngsters or people from the corporate world. Everything is transferable. Yes, Surbi, you got this right. So that's exactly what I'm talking about, the driver's seat formula. So let's talk about the driver's seat formula. What does that mean? There's 4 parts to it. Start with pleasantries. And I'll give you examples. Start with pleasantries. Number 2, try not to spell incorrectly. Apologies. I'm a bit of a spelling snob. So when I get something wrong, I don't like it. Start with pleasantries. Describe what you do today very briefly. Okay. There's a subtle achievement that you sneak in there, which is related to what they are looking for. Very sneaky. And the 4th is, why do you want this job? Right? So pleasantries, when you say, hey, so, chances are it gets down to business really quickly. And you're like, oh, I didn't get any, there was no warm up time. Sometimes there's no icebreaker. Some people are like that. So if you find that a little uncomfortable, what you can do is very basic pleasantries, no more than a sentence. Say, first of all, the guy interviewing you is John. John, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for taking time to see me today. I really appreciate it. Done. Do you know what that does? It forces the other person to say, oh, no problem. Why? That's how human beings are. If somebody says thank you, you will say something back. And when they do that, it gives you a nanosecond to think about your next move. Particularly if you are someone who gets nervous, this will help you to get in smoothly and not worry and not get sweaty. Right? Sounds good? Pleasantries. B, describe what you do today. I'm a senior financial analyst and I have been in this role for the last 3 years. Brief, to the point. You don't have to talk about the entire career history. You can say, yes, I'm a senior financial analyst. I've had about 15 years experience. And for the last 3 years, this is what I do. It's to the point. It's very brief. You don't have to get into description of your job. Why? A lot of it will be mentioned in your resume. You don't have to repeat everything there. Now you sneak in a subtle achievement. I'm a financial analyst and I make these reports for senior management. In fact, I'm working on this project today where I'm leading a team of 4 people, and we are working on how big data has an impact on management decisions, key decision making, and the bottom line. Why are you sneaking this in? Are you silly? No, you are smart. You're sneaking it in because you saw in the job description that they are looking for something like that. And you're connecting the dots for them. And if you speak their language, you will even use the same words that they have in the job description. So it's like keyword matching, SEO, but in real life. If I'm the recruiter, ooh, my antenna just went up. I'm listening to you. There is no way I'm sleeping through this. But you kept it brief, right? And finally, why are you here? Why do you want this job? Get into that immediately. So, you've already spoken. You must have spoken for maximum 40, 45 seconds so far. Trust me, it's not that long when you keep things to the point, particularly if you use this formula. Maybe 60 seconds have gone by. And then you immediately attack. Say it with a smile. You're going to be more. People will want to listen to you more. People will want to be around you more if you're pleasant. If you're going to be doing pleasantries, you might as well be pleasant. So, John, I was really excited when I read this position, and I was, the thing is, I've been in my role, and I feel that in terms of learning and in terms of growing, I think that I'm ready to take the next step in my career. And when I read this opportunity, when I read about this role on LinkedIn, it just got me super excited, and I felt that this is a fabulous match. So that's why I'm here today. What have you done? You've taken control of this entire conversation. That's why I call this the driver's seat formula. You are not at their mercy. You know what's going to happen if you do this the right way that feels good to you and authentic to you, and at the same time is interesting to the other party. If you do it like that, what's going to happen is they have listened to you, and they have a bunch of questions they want to ask you, but you gave them this hook about that project. Chances are, if it's a good recruiter, they're going to want to know about that project. Tell me about that project that you said you're leading a team. Oh yeah, tell me about. You've given them a hook. What happens when you give a hook in fishing? There's a bite. It's a good thing. Like it? I hope it's helping. Give me a little bit of likes, hearts. If this is helpful to you, give me some feedback. It's really, really quiet. Tell me about yourself is also code for tell me about yourself as it relates to the company. Exactly. So that's what we're doing, and which is why I said description of the role and the subtle achievement is always related to what they want, because you're giving them what they want, right? So, okay, fabulous. So I'm getting a couple of comments here on YouTube. Hi. Give me a moment. You have an interview coming up. When you're asked why are you leaving, so I literally answered that right now. If you didn't listen, don't worry, go back and watch the replay. You talk about it. You talk about why you're there in the first place. Why do you want the job? Okay. In the interest of time, I'm going to unfortunately not have time to repeat it. Our friend Risto wants to add something. If you are between jobs, subtle achievement is still tricky but possible. Yeah, I agree, Risto, but your subtle achievement can also be relevant even if you're not in that job anymore, because you've connected the dots with what they're looking for, even if it's in the past. You're right. Subtle achievements, we tend to think of it as an achievement today, but it can also be an achievement in the past, which is very relevant to what they're looking for. And maybe you've done since then, maybe you've done some volunteer work, and you've shown them, you can talk about how you brought together communities, resources for a voluntary community drive, or donation drive for COVID, anything like that. If you know that's something they're looking for, don't talk about unrelated stuff, because people don't have time for that. So I'm seeing a lot of questions coming in, guys. So I'm following a certain framework. If you don't mind, please hang on with me, because if I answer the questions, I'm going to lose the flow. But I'm talking about today, the topic is top five interview questions, right? So hang on with me. I promise to get back to you, but you need to ask me those questions towards the end. And I'll keep time in the end for your questions. Otherwise, we're going to be here for a couple of hours, which I know nobody has time for. And Tanvi, same goes for you. Fabulous. All right. So that was tell me about yourself. I hope that helps you. Now let's talk about the second one. And I'm going to keep this very brief. And why am I going to keep this brief? I released a video on this on YouTube and LinkedIn this week. And it talks about a certain approach. Why do they ask you about your weakness and development areas? Why do they do that? They barely know you, and it's such an uncomfortable question, right? It's very simple. They want to know, are there any red flags that they should know about? And they want to know, how well do you know yourself? Which is why one thing you'd never do is you say, I'm actually perfect. Don't do that. Because nobody is. We all have certain flaws, certain weaknesses, certain areas of development. So if you say that, you just sound like a fool. You don't want that, particularly in such an important decision-making part. And avoid giving rehearsed responses, canned responses like, I'm a perfectionist, I don't know how to delegate. Don't do that. You know why? These recruiters and interviewers have grown up in their career watching and reading the exact same books and videos, and they can read you like a book. So don't give out those negative, positive, twisted into a negative. Don't do that. Okay? Tried and tested. This is one of those things that honestly belongs in the 20th century. Not good advice anymore. Yeah, that's it. Okido. Nishita, you can definitely negotiate your job if you're a fresh graduate as well. Watch my video. A lot of those tips apply to you as well. And even if you've been laid off, it's okay. You still can talk about the value that you bring. You've got to connect the dots with what they're looking for. Just because you've been laid off, by the way, most of the world has been laid off. Most, you're not the only one. And find companies that celebrate your values, your value, your achievements, and they don't tolerate the fact that you've been laid off. Go where you're celebrated, not tolerated. I heard that recently. Go where you're celebrated, not tolerated. If they don't like it, somebody else will. Okie doke. So perfect. Let's move on to the next one. So what we were talking about is, what are your weaknesses? Why did they ask you this question? Avoid canned responses. How do you answer this? I'll keep this very brief. There was a video on this very week. The flaw approach, right? What is the flaw approach? It's talk about something that is in the past that you've overcome. Perhaps you used to be scared of public speaking. You're better at it. H, I'm keeping this one brief because, like I said, there's a detailed video. H is hard skills, specific things I've learned. I need to work on Python. I'm currently doing Java, or I'm learning French, or I'm taking a course. So those are specific teachable skills. We call them hard, but they're actually easy because they're teachable. And law is the slightly more tricky one. Livable, acceptable weaknesses. And that's tricky because you need to know yourself very well, and you need to understand what they're looking for and be able to express it. And this you don't really need to do unless you are really pushed into this corner and people are like getting into this deep psychological type interview and behavioral and want to know your deep, dark secrets, etc. You can talk about something that you're working on. It's not done. But at the same time, it's not going to be a problem. It's not going to self-sabotage you or your chances to get a job. Just like, for example, if you know the role is individual contributor, and if you feel sometimes you have problems with conflicts and you withdraw into a shell, you can say that. But if the role is for a team leader, you cannot say that. So don't do anything that will shoot you in the foot. um, if it's a role where there's a lot of events, etc., you can say, oh, there are times, for example, I need to work on details when it comes to details. But if you're looking at a role for an accountant or a lawyer and you say detail orientation is an issue, you're not going to get hired. So don't share anything that will shoot you in the foot. Got it? Cool. Yeah. So, Inderjeet, regarding your gaps in employment, I have a very detailed video on this on my YouTube channel. Go and check it out. It's 17 minutes. It's almost a masterclass. And I've also done a detailed live stream on how to address gaps in your resume, in your career. In fact, I might do that live stream again. Our YouTube is actually really active. Mention a big mistake and how your boss addressed it. Not sure that's the I'm not sure if you want to address a big mistake and in that type of a forum. I'm not sure. I'm impatient. Yeah, James, just be careful that you don't sound, because impatience is one of those things that old time coaches used to say, perfectionist, impatient. So make sure it's really authentic. And talk about how it actually was detrimental to your career and what you've done to address it. Because otherwise, it's just going to be one of those, you don't want the person listening to like mentally like rolling their eyes. You always want to be honest. You don't want to raise red flags, but you don't want to talk about deep, dirty skeletons in the closet type of thing, because honestly, everyone's got that. But there's a time and place for everything. You can talk about that with friends. Okie do. The third one. Ooh, this is my favorite one. Some people hate this question. I like this question. Top 3 questions. Top 5. This is number 3. Why should we hire you? Some people find like they're listening to it and they're like, oh my God, that makes me very nervous because I think I have to sell myself. Yes. 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 What's wrong with that? Why did they ask you this question? They want to know, can you sell yourself? Can you influence people? Can you persuade people? In any job, unless you're a monkey in front of a laptop and that's all you do all day, unless you're a monkey, you need to be able to work with people. And you need to be able to convince, persuade, influence, and sell. Sell your point. Sell some physical, like a product, sell a service, or sell your points. So this is your opportunity to shine and say how awesome you are. And the second reason they ask is, if they've had any doubts about you throughout the interview, this is something they usually tend to ask in the end, right? And that can help them to go this way or that way. So you don't want to mess this one up. You want to get this right. The third reason they ask you, and again, this is an honest confession, the recruiters in the group chat will confirm to you, sometimes the interview is going really well and recruiters have a very busy mind. They've got deadlines, they have targets, they have things to take care of, they have unhappy bosses. And in all of that brain fog, they forgot to ask about strengths, maybe. This is an opportunity for you to showcase your strengths. You can slide it in somehow. So that's the reason this question is asked. What you want to avoid when you answer this question is talking about you and how much you love this company. Don't do that. This is not about you at all. Funny. It's not about you. I remember asking this question when I was at Google, when I was at GE. Ma'am, I've always wanted to work at GE. It's the company of my dreams. But it's not the question. The question is, why should we hire you? And the you is in capitals. They can hire anyone else. Why you? The question isn't, why do you want to work with us? Many times that is misunderstood. So remember that very well. And so now that we've talked about how to, what to not say, ideally what to avoid. I understand that, Atul. We've talked about that as well. Follow me around on LinkedIn. We talk about it as well. It is a challenge, but you're not the only one. Remember that. You're not the only one. And it comes down to your values. If you go on the back foot and you say, you feel bad, which we all do. By the way, I've lost my job 3 times. And the first time it was 2.5 years. So 6 months, 2.5 years. It's not easy. There is a way to do it. And you can even negotiate. People have been, commenting on my YouTube that, oh, you can't negotiate your salary. No, 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 you've been laid off. You take what you get. Oh, please. Fine. Then your self-worth is out the window, right? And the best time to negotiate is at the beginning. It's much easier to negotiate at the beginning than later. Okido. Yes. Why should we hire you? I love that you're taking notes, Tegan. Fabulous. So, yes, the SWOT analysis. So I'll tell you how I answer this question. Why should we hire you? I have this, my Americans in the audience are going to love this. I call this the Kennedy approach. Famous president, John F. Kennedy, had this speech. Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. Now, fill in the blanks, take out country and use my formula. Ask not what your company can do for you. Ask what you can do for your company. And when I say company, think about this organization. It's not yours, but let's just play along with me. This company and talk about the role, this position, company/position, right? Now, how do you do that? Break up the sentence. See what I've put in capital letters. Company, you, do. This is the meatiest part of this question. So pay attention. If you're in the process of interviews and this question might be coming up, please pay attention, watch the replay, take notes. Trust me, it really, really works. Company is the position. What you need to do is you need to go back and read the job description like 40 times, literally. Take breaks, rest your eyes, go out for a walk, see some plants, see some trees, come back, read it again. Because if you read it nonstop, it won't make sense to you. The pages, the words are just going to be like rolling around in your eyes. But when you do that again and again, and you read it out loud to yourself, you look in the mirror and you look in the mirror and you're reading the job description, you feel like a fool. What's going to happen is if you do it with an open heart and an open mind, you're going to be able to read some pain areas. Why does this position even exist? Why do they want to spend money in this position? There's a reason. Find out what that reason is and find out how you can address those pain areas and those gaps, because that is the reason the position exists today. And that's the first part. So that is company/position. Then you. Now, when I think of you, I think of your unique selling proposition, USP. You've got a unique set of skills and a unique personality that no one else does. That's your superpower. People say, superpower. It is. The way you approach something. Nobody else can do that. It's literally like a thumbprint. Nobody else has that. Now you can't complain here. People complain, I'm not that talented. I don't have unique selling proposition. I don't agree. You're not a robot. You're a human being. So you may have had a forgotten talent, and you're going to ask me, what does it have to do with the job? Bear with me here, okay? Perhaps you wear 2 hats. Perhaps you're an MBA and an engineer. That's interesting. You can talk commercial and technical at the same time. As an example, right? Perhaps the role is for a business analyst, but you're very good at writing. You've always enjoyed writing as a kid, which means you are very comfortable synthesizing complex reports. And you can write complicated emails to clients without an issue. You enjoy writing. Think something you have with something that you're good at in a totally unrelated field. And nobody else has that. And here I'm going to show you something. Okay. Now, let me know if you can, because I can't. Can you see? No. Okay, that's not working. Yeah, that's not working. Just one moment. This is the beauty of life because I'm live when it's it's not working. Okay, I'm gonna try again. Something has happened with my broadcasting platform. I got it. I got it. I got it. Okay. Hopefully you can see my screen now. Okay. Now there's something that the interviewer is looking for, right? Tegan said it. They need something. In the perfect world, do you see this? Um, in the perfect world, what they're looking for and what you do well, and the part in the middle, that's perfect. That's in the perfect world. That's what there's something you do well, and there's something they're looking for. But the reality is, there's other people who want the same damn job. Yeah, duh. So because of that, you want to avoid being in the red zone. And the red zone is what I call the zone of failure, which is what other competing candidates do well, but you don't. And that's what the company needs. Avoid that completely. Avoid it like the plague. You can't focus on it. You don't want to talk about the zone of equality either. Zone of equality, who cares, right? That's what they do well and you do well. Nobody cares about that. What you want to focus on, maybe I should be a little, yeah. What you want to focus on is the zone of success, the green part. What is the zone of success? What you do well and what they're looking for, and the competing candidates don't have. That is your unique selling proposition, USP. You cannot get this in a 2-minute or 20-minute webinar. You got to think hard, and it's work, but it's worth it. Is that helpful? Say something. Exactly. Prove that you can solve their pain point. Definitely prove that you can solve their pain point. Yes. Yes, that is Kennedy. How do you identify their pain areas? Inderjeet, read their job description, check out what's going on in the news, check out social media. There's always a way. I don't need to spoon feed you. There's always a way. Find out. It's homework. Put on your detective hat. Got it? And that's it, Lee. What I have a couple of recruiter friends in the audience on LinkedIn. So pay attention to what they're saying, because these are the people that do very complicated hiring. What is your differentiator? What is your discriminator? What is it that no other candidate has that you have? That's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah. Awesome. I'm going to stop sharing. Then, this one took a little bit of time, but hopefully it's worth it because this is really important. So how do you answer this question? Remember, we said the Kennedy approach. Just take the Kennedy approach. So how do you do this? I said 3 things, right? Company, you, that was the unique selling proposition, and do. This is the part 3. Do means do some storytelling, give examples, massive achievements. This is the time to shine. This is not the time to be humble. I personally don't like arrogant candidates, who think they are the best thing that happened to the world since sliced bread. No, thank you. I'm allergic. However, this is not the time to be humble. So there's a balance between humble and arrogance. Just be proud of what you've done, and communicate in a way that's convincing. Yes. And the second thing I want to say is, bring something if you can. And we're in COVID days right now, so you may not be able to bring something physical to the meeting. The meeting may be on Zoom, but tell them, may I take your permission to share my screen? Show them some stuff that you've done in any position that you have. Trust me, you've done something which is related to the position, which doesn't have to be unidimensional. If you're a designer, maybe you've done a website. If you're a finance guy, maybe you were finance guy or finance gal, maybe you were working on a deal in M&A and the deal is now public. Show them that. People don't do that enough. I must have interviewed more than 5,000 people in 15 to 20 years. I can tell you less than less than 5% have actually made an effort to bring something physical or share, like, an exhibit, share something. That helps you also to stand out. If you want to stand out, that is one way to do it. So this helps with the question, why should we hire you? I hope that helps you. Yeah, I'm going to take a little break and pop in into the comments. You're very welcome, Indrajit. Um, Beautiful. Uh, Finding your USP can be quite difficult. Use your friends as a coach, or hire a coach, or read a few books that are asking you meaningful questions. You've got to take out a little bit of noise from your mind to be able to do it. And I don't just mean sit in a quiet room, I also mean shutting that voice down that says, yeah, yeah, you've been unemployed for 6 months, it's not going to happen. And that's why I think good friends can help you. We all have friends, not the friends who are jealous, mind you. You can see if they're really good friends or not. When something good happens to you at work, you can see the reactions. The ones who are good friends are genuinely happy for you. And the ones who are like, ah, okay, congrats, watch out. Cool. So, Ashley, this is such a tricky one. Oh my gosh, I'm going to come to that right now. That's my fifth one, in fact. Now, I'm going to get moving, because we're going to otherwise be here for a while. Question number 4. Remember, for those who are just joining us a little bit late, our topic today is top 5 interview questions. Question number 4 is, tell me about a time when. This is what is called a behavioral question. By the way, please understand, all of these are inaccurate ways to determine if you're going to be a good person on the job or not. They are inaccurate ways to determine future success. However, this is the way we are in the world today. Yeah, we're not being interviewed by robots. So behavioral questions give the other person an idea of how would you be in their company if something like this happened. How would you react? They want to know how, they want to see, they want to gauge, how do you handle stress, pressure? Because again, unless you're a monkey on a laptop, there is no job which is immune from pressure and stress, right? You can have a very cool, chilled out job, but there'll be certain times when it's not cool and chilled out. And honestly, that helps. A little bit of adrenaline doesn't hurt anyone. Uh, and they want to see, do you learn? Do you give up? They can tell. How can they tell? They can see your body language, which speaks louder than words. And they can tell with the examples you choose. If you choose an example which is a little small and cute, and you're like, and then it was done, you're like, oh, okay, this person's not yet ready for this type of a role. They're not senior enough. They haven't lived enough. You know what I mean? So, how do you want to address this? Tell me about a time that you failed. Tell me about a time there was a crisis, right? I once interviewed a guy for a role in senior corporate communications. And I asked him about, because crisis communication is a big part of that job. And nobody likes that, because that's when big egos are out in public and they are like ready to kill people. So, but that tells you a lot about how, can you really determine if this person will be calm when it actually happens? No, you cannot, but you get an idea. You get a little bit of an idea. So, what do you want to avoid when you get this type of question? What you want to avoid is, this is a very simple answer. I'm not going to go into detail here. You want to avoid explaining the context too long. And be very careful here, because I used to make this mistake when I was being coached for interviews back in 2009 when I completed my MBA. I was told by my coach that you're giving good answers, but get to the point faster about what you did, because you've painted the picture too long and the interview's coming close to an end. So be in control of the situation. Remember the driver's seat formula. It's actually going to help you. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go and watch the replay. So how do you answer this? My friend Lauren, if she's watching, she talks about POWER, and many people talk about POWER: problem, action, result. Problem, action, result. This was the problem. Don't spend more than 20-30% of the time explaining it. Don't. You're wasting precious real estate. This is prime real estate for you. Action is where you spend time. And the result is the cookie, the cherry on the cake. Beautiful. This is what happened. Great. So I would say do a 30-70 split between P and AR. Got it? What is WIDM? WIDM is an acronym of mine that my members of the Supercharged Club know what I'm talking about. WIDM is what you did, WYD, what you did, and IM is impact. We use this formula particularly in resume building because a lot of people talk only about what they did. They don't talk about the impact. And impact can be measured. Not always, but most of the time it can be measured. So when you say the R, the result, make sure there's impact. It's not out of the blue something totally unrelated. Think about how this can help them. Think about how this can help them to make the decision in your favor. Got it? Anybody who's thinking, oh gosh, this is so hard, it gets easier with time, gets easier with practice. One day you'll be the one interviewing. And then I beg you, don't ask boring canned questions like, tell me about yourself. What is this one? One of my least favorite ones, weaknesses. Tell me about your weakness. Yeah, less interesting. Cool. Lee Lee talked about Lee's singing in her head. These are my recruiter friends in the audience. For those who are new on YouTube, yes, I have an MBA from INSEAD. Tegan, tell me about a time when. I love Tegan. I don't know how you're typing if you're on your morning commute. Just be careful. Yes, Gandharv. Yes, exactly. Friends help you put you in your place. Okay, I have a quick question here on YouTube. Hi, Chirag. Please don't call me ma'am. I feel like I'm 85 years old. I have an 18-month operational work experience. I'll be appearing for an MBA HR interview. Okay. That's a very good school in India. Any tips? Just, no, that's a great question. Chirag, go and watch my video on career change and talk about why you want it. Not because you're running away from something, but because something else is calling you. I don't want to go into detail right now because we might lose our train of thought, but definitely watch that video on career change. It's on my YouTube channel and I'm sure it'll help you. And I wish you great success with the interviews. PAR is global. Yes. Give a huge applause to PAR. Problem, action. You know why? I like it better than STAR. Situation, task, action. Nothing wrong. STAR is fine. Situation, that's where you get lost in the weeds. We don't want that. We want you to be a rock star. This is your type. You're like this rock star. You need to shine and not, another faceless person who's forgotten. We don't want that for you, do we? Okay, the last question in my 5-part series is a very tricky one. I think, Ashley, you asked already. Let's see where you are. I have to give you a massive disclaimer, Ashley. I've got a lot of heat for this, so I'm going to be careful. And by the way, this is a very good lesson. I don't want to, have a pity party here. This is a very good lesson in human psychology. I have a video on YouTube about this, and I've done a detailed live stream on the topic of what are your salary expectations. And there I talk about the question, what is your current salary? Now, in parts of the US, I think only, I don't know anybody anywhere else in the world, I could be wrong. This is a question that you are not allowed to ask. And it's supposed to be anonymous. Why? There's massive biases because candidates have felt that they've been discriminated against. And if people know their salary, they will not be offered more. This topic alone, I can spend an hour on it, right? I kind of disagree with it. I feel like it's like going to buy a dress without a fitting. Like, I need to know the measurements, right? However, there's good HR and there's bad HR. Bad HR will see what you're earning and they'll maybe give you like a 1% increase. They're stingy, they're cheap. Good HR wants you and they want to make sure you're very well compensated and you're in the right job at the right, opportunity to grow. And they're not stupid because they know you're not stupid. Because if you are earning 60,000, for example, and your friends around you are earning 75 or 80,000, HR knows one day you guys may go out for a drink in a over a beer. People are discussing money and salaries, and you find out what they're earning 80, I'm earning 60, 65. I'm out of here. They don't want that. It's taken too darn long to get you, to train you, to get you up on the job. So if they're good and they're clever, they're going to make sure you're very competitively compensated. And what does that mean? The market as well as the internal parity, as well as what would this position make for a similar industry in a similar sized company. So I personally, when I get this question, I don't feel uncomfortable. I have answered this question truthfully. That is not where negotiation begins for me. Many people disagree, so please take this with a pinch of salt. Don't take my advice at face value. There are people who will hate this advice. If you don't like it, change the channel. Okay, go. Because I've got a lot of heat on this, and I've got a lot of hate mail and comments. But if this makes sense to you, don't eliminate yourself. Just explain the truth. If you're too low, they love to delight you with a good offer. If they're good. If they're not good, I don't know if you want to work with them. If you're too high, that might be a point of concern. It might be, right? Would you want to hire someone who's too expensive because you might think, oh, I don't want to disappoint them, right? So one step at a time. So I want to get into okay. So I'm going to get into the way to answer this one, which is what are your salary expectations, right? Yeah, exactly. There's restrictions in certain states, so be careful because the audience here is global, right? And I'm detailed about which state in the US. I don't have, and I don't even have a JD, right? I'm not a Juris Doctor, so I don't have that authority to say anything. Cool. So I'm glad you're not driving, Tegan. So what are your salary expectations? Now, why do they ask you this question? It's very simple, right? I'm not just talking to Ashley. They want to make sure they don't waste their time and your time, but mostly their time. If the position has a budget and the budget is 100, right? And you're at 180 today. It's very rare to see someone who's at 180 today saying, I can come for eight, I can come for 100. It's very rare. Of course it's possible. But if you're cringing with this and you don't like this and you're like, oh, data privacy, illegal, etc. No, don't take this advice. But this is how the real world mostly is working. And it's not always out to get you as a job seeker, right? So why do they ask this question? They want to make sure they don't waste their time, that there is a fit from the very beginning. What you want to avoid when you are asked about salary expectations, you want to avoid giving a number or a range. So if you are asked this question by default, you know those forms that you have to fill out, ATS, etc., it might come up. My personal advice is to put a dot. If it doesn't accept a dot, put 0. Or if it accepts text, you can write to be negotiated at a later stage. I don't want to give that right now. Why? Because there's too many variables. You don't know. It's very premature. You don't know enough about the job. You don't know about responsibilities, the growth, how much money does the company make. So maybe sometimes it's not a publicly owned company, etc. So I feel like this is where Chris Voss, the guy who wrote this book, I'm getting brain fog. This book is called Never Split the Difference. The one who gives the one who in a pack of cards in what is that game called? Oh my god! Like shoot me now. Poker. The one who blinks first, poker face. So the one who gives the number first, I feel like they lose. So avoid, if you can, giving a number or a range. So I'm going to explain to you how this works. This is a formula I have. You see, I have formula for all my top 5 questions. Hopefully this is helping you and taking something away. I have a thing for acronyms. Lauren's watching. She knows I have a thing for acronyms. Easy to follow, easy to remember. This is how I learned back in school. I have something called a salary approach, but I added an H because I needed an H in there. So for a second, we imagine that we are Sean Connery. I did a whole live stream on this back in the summer for an hour on this topic. So we add an H, so it's a salary approach. So this is Sean Connery and this is a salary approach. Got it? Bless his soul. Oh man, I was heartbroken when he passed away. So this is the salary approach. What is a salary approach? S stands for sell yourself. This is the time to sell yourself so that they absolutely fall in love with you. And you know what? When they fall in love with you, they'll hire you at any cost. Trust me, they make exceptions all the time. They say they are the rules, but they make exceptions are made all the time. I know what I'm talking about. H is holding your ground. When people say, no, but you need to give me a number or a range, it's not easy. You're holding your ground. You're being assertive. It's not easy, but you got to do it as much as you can. A is avoid. Avoid giving number or a range, which I already explained. L is let them negotiate. Let them initiate the topic of money. Don't be the first one to do it. I don't know. I just feel personally, let it come from them. Otherwise, it might come across that you're a bit money minded or greedy, even if you're not. Right? At this point, everything is kind of looked at with a magnifying glass. So don't give them any ammunition, right? A is answer with a statement, which is kind of obvious. But what does that mean? Some people are told by certain coaches, when people ask you, what are your salary expectations? You should answer this question with a question. So, what's your budget? What are you willing to pay me? Don't do that. So, answer with a statement. Don't answer with a question. It's a little bit cocky for me. R is research. Why? Worst comes to worst. If you're, hand on the fire and you have to be able to give a number, at least you should know what does this mean. In Glassdoor, on payscale.com, on salary.com, talk to headhunter friends. What does a position like this earn in the market? You should know what you're talking about. You should not be clueless. This is very important. Salary is very important for your future. Like I said, I have a detailed videos on this on YouTube, so check it out. And why is when you answer this question, your body talks louder than words. So when you answer with a smile, back straight, high energy, and not like, I'm comfortable, it's embarrassing, something to hide. Don't do that. Be confident. It's money. Sure, it's important. It's important to them as well. There's more to this. But this is true in everything. Body language, right? They say 70 to 80% is body language, and the remaining is actually the words that you use. So that's the salary approach. I hope this is helpful. Oh boy, lots of talking, and we're 57 minutes past the hour. Cool. Any burning questions? So this would be a great time to ask me questions. That's exactly what I said. So in India, CTC is your cost to company. That's exactly what I said. That's exactly what Ashley asked. If you haven't watched it, Naveen, go and watch the replay. I said, yeah, I think you can. Hey, Jonathan. Yes. Thank you for my brain fog. And Arun, thank you for poker. Thank you. You're very kind. Asking 100% hike on a junior level. Yeah, okay, Umang, go and do it. I wish you luck. What's your reason? You better be worth it. I don't know. There has to be a really good reason. Yeah, we have somebody who just did a negotiation class. And the research on the topic is huge. And there's also details on men, women. I love this topic as well. And I've done 2 live streams on negotiation. So, if anybody's interested, definitely check it out either in my YouTube channel or on LinkedIn. Just do hashtag Supercharge Fridays. And I think hashtag salary, it'll all come up. And perfect. So this is actually a good time to ask questions. I'm going to do a quick recap. But before I do that, I want to say one thing. I want to say thank you for being here today, and I appreciate your time. Next week, because I have these every week, these sessions, next week we're going to have a rock star on all things job search. His name is Mark Anthony Dyson. He says, we're going to talk about the modern job search. What's new, what's changed, and what's not the same. And he's been writing about careers and job search for a long time. So if anybody knows on this topic more than Mark Anthony, where am I going with this sentence? It was a grammatically incorrect sentence. If there's anyone who knows on job search and careers for over 2 decades, it's Mark Anthony. So definitely be here and join me for that conversation, because we're going to have a brilliant conversation on this topic. I'm going to do a quick recap. So all the people on YouTube who had questions, this would be a great time to ask me. We talked about the top 5 interview questions. The first one was tell me about yourself, and we said how do you answer it. Remember, we said the driver's seat formula, where you focus on pleasantries, describe your current role briefly, bring in a subtle achievement which has something to do with what they're looking for and their pain area, and why do you want this job, right? Then we said, how do you answer the question, what are your weaknesses or your development areas, and how do you answer this? We have the flaw approach, which is talk about something that's in the past, talk about a hard skill, and then if you dare to go there, a livable, acceptable weakness that is not going to shoot you in the foot for the job concern. Then the third one was why should we hire you? And this was all about the Kennedy approach. And we said, focus on what you can do for the company and what you bring to the table, your unique selling proposition. Remember that graphic we shared? And the do part is very important. Then the fourth one was behavioral questions. Tell me about a time when this happened and that happened and the shizzle hit the fan and what did you do? They want to know that stuff. They want to know, because that will happen in their company as well. Are you going to be one of those people that runs for the hills, or are you actually going to save the day? They want to know that. And the last one was what are your salary expectations? And we said, how do you answer this? Use the salary approach, which is all about selling yourself, holding your ground, avoiding giving the number and range, etc., etc. Cool. So this is it, really. So if you've hung around till the very end, I really appreciate your time. If you gotta go, you gotta go. But now I think will be a great time for me to answer some of the questions which are on the YouTube channel. Definitely. Sean, you are so right about body language and dress code. There was a recent post by someone. You know what? It's not that hard to impress someone these days, because somebody was complaining that she was interviewing someone and that guy was sitting in a bed, like probably in his pajamas. Make an effort, right? If you make an effort and you wear a suit, people aren't used to seeing people in suits today. It's like, wow. You would think this is normal, but wow. So honestly, it's not that hard. Hi, Vipin. So Vipin says, should I mention to them that I have an offer from another? Oh, yes. No, see what's best for you. But you don't do that yet. You only do that in the end when there's a negotiation. Don't do that yet. You might look like you're, threatening, blackmailing. You don't want to do that. But definitely towards the end, I would mention it. And if I'm the company, I will want you more. This is human nature. You always want something more desirable when you know that you may not be able to have it. Yeah. Mark Anthony is incredible. Hi, Parag. Good question. Professional emailing etiquette. I think the best way to learn, Parag, is by doing and getting feedback. But I'm sure you can check out a couple of articles online. Mark Anthony, in fact, the one who's coming next week, writes a lot about careers. That's his name. Check him out on LinkedIn. He's got a couple of blogs. And I have another friend called Bob McIntosh who has a blog as well, which is very helpful. His blog is called thingscareerrelated.com. So check that out. That should be helpful as well. There's tons, there's lots of these great people. And the cool thing is a lot of them have actually come on my live stream. Another one, which is amazing, is Hannah Morgan. And she has a blog called Yoo-hoo. No, it's not called Yoo-hoo. It's called careersherpa.net. If you search in there, you'll definitely find the things that you are looking for. Okay, sorry. I'm just a little tired. How do you initiate salary hike discussions when the appraisal is skipped or the appraisal discussion is still a long time away? You don't. I suggest you don't. You try and find out instead. Your name is Palani Appan. Yeah, what you try to do is focus on asking the right questions. What do I need to do to get to this position? Focus on position, not so much about the salary aspect. Because if the position is going to be increased and you're going to be given more responsibilities, then there's more money with it, usually. Got it? Um, Fabulous. Um, if there are any questions that I haven't answered, please feel free to, um, check them out. Please feel free to write about them right now, because then I'll hang on. Otherwise, I don't. I'm going to go, and I'm sure you have to go as well. I'm going back and seeing if there are any questions from YouTube that I haven't answered yet, or LinkedIn. Or I'm actually it's quite a few, and I so hopefully, Parag, that helps you with the answer. All right. Fabulous, Ira. I'm glad you're here. So thank you so much for being here. This was our week 58 of Supercharged Fridays. If there are other topics that you want to know about, check out this hashtag Supercharged Fridays. There's lots. I've been doing this for 58 weeks. So chances are, if you're going to ask me a question, I've already done that in one of the sessions. So go and check it out. Thank you for being with us today. Appreciate your time, guys. Take care. Be safe. And I shall see you next week with Mark Anthony Dyson, same time, 2 p.m. Belgium, 8 a.m. Eastern, 6:30 p.m. India, 9 p.m. Singapore. Take care. Bye, and have a good weekend.